Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Small Cap Discoveries conference call. Today on our call, we have CEO Maury from Quorum Information Technologies. Quorum trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol QIS and on the OTC under QIF-TF. The company is trading at $1 with roughly 72 million shares outstanding or $72 million market cap. I'd now like to hand it over to Paul Andriola.
Great, thanks, Trevor. Yes, great to have Maury here. Quorum Information Technology, it's a company that's sort of been on our watch list for a number of years. And it's great that we've got this opportunity to catch up with the company. I know a lot of subscribers and listeners either own some shares or know the company fairly well. So great opportunity to catch up if you already know a little bit about it and get acquainted with the company if you don't. So Maury, thanks for joining us today. And I understand you have a presentation, so I'm going to hand it over to you and let you do all the work.
All right. Well, Paul, thank you. You bet. Let me just share my screen out here and we'll jump right in. So I'm going to spend probably about 15 or 20 minutes going through a presentation, just give everybody sort of a high level overview of Quorum. And let me jump in to slide 1. So there's our forward-looking disclaimer. Sorry, I have to pop that up on every one of these. And from there, I'll jump us forward and just talk a little bit about Quorum from a general point of view and from a market point of view. Obviously, I'm going to dive into some of these points in more detail through my presentation, but let me paint the landscape for you. So we provide software through to car dealerships, right? The same dealership that you would buy a car from or get your car serviced from. We tend to focus on franchise dealerships as opposed to, say, independent dealerships or used car stores. So franchise dealerships would mean your Toyotas, the Fords, the GMs, the Chryslers of the world. Most of those stores, and we've done a fair bit of research on this, are using 25 different solutions in their dealership. So there are 700 or so vendors in the automotive software space. If we categorize them into categories, there's 25 different categories. A typical store is using software from typically all 25 of those categories. So you've got a lot of different pieces of software in place to run your store. And I think what you have to keep in mind with a dealership is fairly complicated in that they have a whole sales cycle for selling vehicles. They've got a whole service process for servicing cars. They've got parts inventory, accounting, they got customer relationship management going on. They've got integration to the factory or to the original manufacturer, like the Toyotas and the Fords. So there's a lot of moving pieces within a dealership, and hence why they have so much software to run their stores. We're helping dealerships solve the problem of having all these different disparate solutions. So we've got a product suite. It's a product suite of 11 different products. We're not in all 25 of the different categories with our 11 different products, but we're in the 11 most common ones across dealerships. Our product suite helps dealerships from the point of view of, because it's an integrated suite, it drives all kinds of efficiencies in. We have an enterprise reporting tool that sits on top of our product suite. So one reporting tool for the dealership management team. And then every one of our products, we really work hard to make sure there's a measurable return on investment for each of our products within the product suite. On top of all that, we're selling the product suite for about half the price of what a dealership would otherwise spend on competing disparate products. So it's we believe, a very strong value equation through to dealerships. What we often see with dealerships for new ones that come on board with us is they will buy one or maybe a couple products out of our product suite, and that's where they will start and onboard with us. And then over time, they will add additional products. All right, let me keep rolling forward and we'll drill down on some of this stuff and I'll provide a little bit more information about our suite in it especially. Before I jump into any more of that information, but I just want to give you a high level understanding of some of our key metrics across the company. So these are Q3 metrics for us. You can see top left-hand corner, $8.1 million revenue in Q3. 2 of our core revenue streams are our SaaS revenue. So everybody understands what that is, and that makes up a majority of our revenue, and what we call BDC revenue. So we man a call center for dealerships that they can hire us to, where we can actually drive more traffic into their store. So our call center, for instance, can help dealerships drive customers into their service lane for maintenance work or recall work or decline services from past visits. So that's our BDC revenue. It's called a business development center in the car business. Both of those are reoccurring revenue streams, and you can see we've annualized those in the top right-hand side of this slide. So 23.7 million of SaaS revenue annualized based on Q3 numbers and 7.5 million of BDC revenue. Over on the left-hand side, again, you can see our gross margins. Obviously, our SaaS business is our highest gross margin business. The piece that we spend a lot of time focusing on growing. Our BDC gross margins are much smaller, as you would expect in a call center. However, we see ourselves as having some opportunity to improve those particular margins. And we're doing a lot of work in 2021 to try to move the BDC revenue margins up. Jumping again to the right-hand side, you can see available market for us. So the Canadian available market, US market, these are franchise dealerships in those particular markets. It doesn't include independent stores. We do actually have a solution for independent or used car stores out there, but it's a very small piece of our revenue. So I tend not to talk about it. Like I said before at the onset, we're focused on franchise dealerships. And you can see our TAM value of $6 billion. So we have a big pool to swim in out there. Once again, jumping over to the left-hand side, our EBITDA and what we call adjusted cash income. Keeping on the left-hand side, our total customer base, and a really important number for us in the bottom left-hand corner is our MARPU. So our monthly reoccurring revenue per unit or per dealership out there. And I will refer to that number a bit later on and within the presentation. So we're on average getting $1,886 per dealership per month. And then you can see our market cap information that Trevor talked about and Paul talked about at the onset of my presentation. Okay, jumping forward. So our product suite. I'm not going to dive into a ton of detail on our product suite, but I do want to just give you a flavor for some of the different pieces of our product suite. And I also want to talk about how we got to where we are today. So when the company was founded, our whole focus was what we called our Accelerator Dealership Management System. Think of Accelerator as an ERP for a car dealership, right? Handles all the sales, service, parts, accounting transactions, body shop transactions, integration to the manufacturer. So the company was founded on that particular product. That was the very first thing we built, and we grew over time with that product. What we were finding, though, is every time we installed that software into a dealership, the dealership would come at us with, well, hold on, can you please plug into this third party and this one and this one and this one? And so we were getting inundated with third party integration requests when we would go into these different dealerships. And where we got to is we realized that, hey, why don't we just build some of these different third party pieces and make them part of our integrated product suite rather than always having to tie into all these third party companies out there. We started down that strategy. We built out something called Communicator, which you can see in the middle of the circle on the left. So Communicator was the ability for a dealership for dealership staff to email and text their customers right from within our Accelerator Dealership Management System. They could, for instance, hit a button and let you know when your car was ready for pickup. They could send you your invoice. So Communicator for us was a really nice tool, and it helped dealerships with customer satisfaction. From there, we built PowerLane. So PowerLane was the next next product we built, and that was an inspection tool for dealerships when they would actually, when a customer would come through the service lane, they would do a vehicle inspection with this tool. Then if there was any deficiencies on that customer's car, any items that needed repair, a quote would be generated and then a presentation would be made through to the customer. Well, PowerLane, when I talk about ROI, PowerLane was driving in $60,000 a month per dealership when we first launched it. It was a massive hit across our stores and continues to generate great numbers for our dealerships. So we built those two particular products. We went on to build a sales CRM product, and then we realized, God, we can't build everything. So we started partnering with companies in the space, and we found different companies that we trusted, that we'd partner with, and we became their value-added reseller. And so we would include their product in our product suite. We'd sell their product for them, do first level support, and then we'd typically split the revenue with them for the product. So very first company that we did that with was a company called Autovance, who had a desking product that allows dealerships to quote proper finance and lease payments across all makes of vehicles out there. And it was our first partner relationship. It turned out to be a massive hit across our dealerships. And we ultimately acquired Autovance. And that started us down the acquisition strategy. Since acquiring Autovance in the last 4 years, we've acquired 3 companies, including Autovance. So Autovance was our first acquisition. We acquired them. Then we acquired DealerMine, which was a large company who had a sales CRM solution that really helped dealerships drive traffic into their service lane. DealerMine came with those BDC services that I talked about earlier. And then our third acquisition was a company called Oasis, which was a competitor to our Accelerator product. We have successfully migrated the franchise dealers from Oasis over to Accelerator, and now Oasis has our product for the independent dealerships out there, and it's called Advantage. It's not shown on here, but we hope over time to grow that particular business for the independent stores. So you can see how we started with that DMS, and over time through different strategies grew out our product suite to be 11 different products that we have today. All right, moving into our growth opportunities and talking through our different opportunities that we have. So this is opportunity number 1. In the Canadian marketplace, you can see on this slide, we have 912 customers. We have one of our products in 28% of the Canadian dealerships. We're a really strong brand in Canada, whether you look at our Accelerator brand, our DealerMine brand, or our Autovance brand. All of them are well recognized in the Canadian marketplace. We also still have a fairly large available market in Canada across all our different products. So a lot of our energy is spent on continuing to grow the Canadian marketplace. Now, there is a available market expansion available to us, and it's largely available related to our Accelerator product, that dealership management system. Before we can sell Accelerator through to a dealership, we have to be integrated to the manufacturer. And so we've done a lot of the work to integrate to a majority of the manufacturers in the Canadian market. But there still are 4 key manufacturers that we'd like to get integrated to, and they are Honda, Mazda, BMW, and Mercedes. We can't sell to those dealerships until we finish the integration. So those are pretty key to us. Just 1 sec, I'm just moving, there we go. If you can see on the far right-hand side in the top right-hand corner, today, without those integrations done, we can access what we call our targeted Accelerator available market. We can access 49% of that particular market. If we could add Honda and Mazda in, we could grow that number to 80%. So hence, those integrations are critical to us. I spend a fair bit of my time dealing with these particular manufacturers and trying to get them to agree to let us embark on a project to build out the integration. Projects to build out manufacturer integration, though, are very large. So there's a lot of work that we have to do with the manufacturer to integrate things like financial statements and warranty claims and parts ordering and vehicle invoicing and multiple other sort of integration points between our dealership management system and the manufacturer's back-end systems. All right, so those are 2 growth opportunities, growth in the Canadian marketplace and growth of available market as well. Our third opportunity is the US market. Currently, we have 133 customers in the market, but that is less than 1% of the market share. Once again, when it comes to Accelerator, we don't have integration to all the different manufacturers. In fact, we have a few less integrations in the US marketplace than we have in Canada. So we have less sort of targeted Accelerator available market available in the US, but we still have a large market. So there's still lots of opportunity for us. With the US market, you always have to be careful. It's a massive market for anybody that's tried to sell into it and grow into it. And so for us, we are focused on very specific geographical regions, and we're currently we're increasing our spend on sales and marketing in those particular geographical areas, and really trying to push forward in the US marketplace and start to get some growth momentum going on in there. There are a few really nice things about the US market. We don't really have to change our software very much for the US, and really most of the software changes have already been completed across our entire product suite to adapt to the US marketplace across almost every single state as well. And then another nice advantage to the US marketplace, and on top of the size of it, is the ability for us to sell in US dollars at what we sell our product suite at in Canadian dollars, right? So we basically are priced at par. We sell for the same price in US dollars as we do in Canada, and of course then we get the exchange lift. The fourth opportunity for us is cross-selling. So I had mentioned at the onset that our MARPU, or our monthly recurring revenue per dealership out there, is $1,886. But our product suite is $7,000 in total. Now, there are some pieces of our product suite that just can't be cross-sold. So our available MARPU to capture is $5,000, which is a 2.7 times opportunity. This for us is one of the most straightforward opportunities for us to capture. And we're spending a lot more energy and time and dollars on sales and marketing in this particular area, because if we can continue to cross-sell where we have a relationship already in place, it is a much easier sale. In addition to that, as we sell more products into a particular dealership, what we find is the synergies drive higher customer sat out of that dealership, and it reduces churn for all the products that we have sold to that particular customer. Two more opportunities for us from a growth perspective. These are the last two opportunities. So the one on the left-hand side is talking about innovation, right? We are continuing to innovate and build out some more pieces of our product suite. Two very recent innovations for us is My Deal, which is an exciting innovation where we allow a dealership's customer to buy a car online. We launched that product sort of late in Q3 2020 and have started selling it through Q4 and to date. And it has been going quite well with the My Deal product. The other innovation was related to, that we recently brought in, was related to Power Lane, which is our service lane inspection tool that I was talking about before that drives in $60,000 of revenue per month per dealership. Well, we enhanced that tool to allow videos and pictures to be taken by techs and advisors to be sent through to the customer, where the customer now can use, where you can take your phone, you could check out the pictures and videos of the possible repairs you might need, see the dollars related to them, and approve those repairs right from your phone, which will automatically dispatch the work right through to the technician. Obviously, these innovations are really, us stepping into the realm of dealing with the dealership's customers more directly, but they're also stepping into the realm of allowing dealership customers to interact with the dealership safer, virtually, in a more transparent way. And hence, we spent a lot of time and energy sort of since COVID hit, making sure that we had these two innovations available for the marketplace, because we felt it was something that not only our dealerships were demanding, but our dealerships' customers were demanding as well. Moving over to the right-hand side of this particular slide, obviously partnering, acquiring is another way for us to continue to grow. If we are acquiring any companies and adding them to our product suite, or we're partnering and adding them to our product suite, those are both growth opportunities for us. We go about the acquisition path to sort of two different ways. There's two things that we look at. One is when we look at our sales side of the business and we look at our sales offering that we have for our dealerships and our service offering that we have for our dealerships, that really helps dealerships have a really nice sales and smooth sales and service process in their store and help drive more revenue in. We have long-term product visions for those two areas of our software. From those product visions, we have mapped out where we want to partner or acquire with different companies, but also where we want to innovate as well. So in some cases, we might innovate particular pieces along our product visions or our product roadmaps. In other cases, we may partner or acquire. So that is probably the number one driver of possible growth for us when it comes to sort of partner acquisition growth. The other thing that we do on that side of our business from a growth point of view is we are aware of what's going on in the marketplace. We stay pretty in tune to all kinds of different partners and companies out there, just to be aware of if there are any companies that are looking in the software space to be sold, in the automotive software space to be sold, and we ensure we take a good look at those particular companies if they do come available. There's a picture of our financial performance over the last couple of years. You can see on the top right-hand corner, revenue by division. We've broken it in between SaaS, BDC, and services and one-time revenue. You can see solid growth until we hit Q2 of 2020. So in Q2 in 2020, obviously that was first wave of COVID hit in April and May. Our dealerships were really, quite frankly, struggling during that particular time. Number of our dealerships were closing down their sales departments. They were working their service departments and their parts departments with part staff. There were a lot of different layoffs going on during that particular time. What we ended up doing is we came to our dealerships as a good partner and we offered them SaaS discounts on our SaaS products out there, and that was really well received across our customer base. We got a lot of goodwill out of that gesture through to our dealerships. But what we also got out of that is we got very little decline or very little cancellation in our SaaS revenues or cancellation of our products, which would lead to a decline in our SaaS revenues. So we effectively maintained our SaaS revenues through COVID. And then in Q3, we saw a bounce back quarter for ourselves where we started selling again. And we also were able to organically grow our SaaS revenues by 10% quarter over quarter when comparing Q3 2020 to Q2 2020. Now, an important point to mention on this slide in the top right-hand corner is our Q2 2020 revenues shown here are a normalized revenue. And what I mean by that is we have added back the discounts that we provided in Q2, just so we had a more comparative revenue on this particular slide. And when I talk about the fact that we went up 10% growth from Q3 2020, so we went back to organic growth of 10% from Q3 2020 to in Q3 2020 compared to Q2 2020, we're also looking at our normalized revenues in that particular case when we're doing that comparison. So how the numbers boiled out is our growth, our SaaS revenue growth was 2.4% quarter over quarter compared to normalized Q2 revenues from Q3 to Q2 2020, which equates to 10% organic growth. We continue to see a good market for selling our products into. I know we're all sort of going through COVID wave 2 or 3, however you want to sort of define it right now, but we continue to have some strong sales in our most recent months. And so despite the fact that dealerships are getting hindered a bit more in these later waves of COVID, they are still staying open for business and still seem to be doing fairly well when it comes to car sales, and especially when it comes to service and parts revenue. And as a consequence, they seem to be very open to business, open-minded to business, and are looking at our different solutions and buying some of those solutions. I will mention SaaS gross margins. You can see they dropped for us in Q2 2020. Of course, that's related to those particular discounts. They bounced back significantly in Q3 2020. As SaaS gross margins are impacted by our staffing levels when it comes to support and install staffing levels. So the more throughput that we're putting through, the more active we are, the more those margins tend to bounce back up. And so we do expect those margins to sort of continue to bounce back up to our historic levels. And then profitability wise, top right-hand corner, our gross margins bounced back really nicely in Q3. And our EBITDA and adjusted cash income margins were strong for us as well in Q3. And I also mentioned BDC revenues and gross margins before. I mean, as I discussed before, BDC gross margin is an area that we want to continue to work on. We think we have some opportunity there to increase those particular margins. Now, maybe just a couple more comments on COVID. I did talk a fair bit about wave one of COVID, where we provided those SaaS discounts through to our customers. I know it was a tough time for everybody and for every business out there. For us, mission number one was ensuring the safety of all our staff, the safety of our customer staff, and we deployed a number of changes in our organization to really go virtual quickly. During that time. Today, we continue to operate virtually with the exception of our BDC who have come back into the office. We're finding that we're really quite comfortable operating in a virtual world. And we've taken sort of full advantage of all the tools and deployed new tools in for our staff to just ensure maximum efficiency. In addition, during COVID, we did a big pivot on our product side of our business. Things that we were working on in the past that had been important, that just weren't important in a COVID environment. We shelved those particular projects. We brought other projects to the forefront. So that's where our My Deal product came to the forefront, the one I was talking about that allows a person to buy a car online. Our other power lane enhancements I talked about before came to the forefront. Those were projects that we really, and products that we pushed really hard to get to market sooner. To help our customers out, and our customers were really appreciative of that. We also, and not shown on this slide, we made a number of changes to how we implement our solutions into dealerships and really moved to a much more remote install model across most of our product suite. Obviously, our dealership management system, that core ERP, is a hard one to deploy remotely with remote training. We do have the capability to do that, but it's a tougher one to do, and some of our dealerships don't like that idea. So we have to work around COVID for installs of our core dealership management system, but other products in our product suite are able to be installed remotely, and our dealerships are quite open to them being installed remotely, and so we continue to do that. And then, like everybody, we're on an ongoing basis, we're continuing to monitor COVID, we're continuing to monitor impact on our business, on our customers' business, and making adjustments as we go along. But like I said at the onset, or a slide ago, that the sales environment has really returned for us. Our dealerships seem to be doing much better. They're much healthier from a financial point of view, and much more open to deploying more solutions into their stores, especially things like My Deal and PowerLane. When it comes to market data, there's a snapshot of a number of different pieces. So you can see our market cap, top right-hand corner, our enterprise value, top right-hand corner, which is very similar to our market cap. You can see on there that we have $10.2 million of cash available on our balance sheet. We did a financing in November of 2019, just in front of COVID sort of wave one. You can also see, I'll just point out a couple key things on here. You can also see that institutional ownership is above 50% of our total outstanding shares. We have a large number of institutions that have acquired fairly significant positions in Quorum. And then top right-hand corner, our directors and managers own 31% of the ownership. We do have a couple of directors that are from institutions, which bumps that percentage up to 31%. And an interesting item for us is that our dealerships themselves hold a fair bit of our shares, and they've purchased those shares in different placements at retail prices. So it wasn't like we gifted dealership shares within the company. They liked our product so much they stepped up and bought a piece of the company, and we're quite appreciative of that. And there's our share price performance across the bottom. And with that slide, my last slide here is I'll just talk a little bit about our leadership team. We did put out a press release 2 days ago about changes to our leadership team. This is our team that we have in place now that is really guiding the company. Mike Herrenberg is our new COO as of beginning of September, and he has brought a lot of new and great ideas to our organization and has been really instrumental in sort of pushing us to step up a level across our entire team. We've got deep automotive experience across this team, and they really understand the business well. They understand the software side of the business well, and they're a great group to work with. And with that said, I think I will pass it back over and open up for questions.
Perfect. Maury, yeah, you've done such a good job. You've made my life easier and harder at the same time, because I think you've answered all the questions that I had prepared in advance. So I'm gonna reach out to our listeners and help me out as much as you can. If you guys got questions, please feel free to use the chat function and fire off your question there, and I'll be sure to ask Maury. Listen, you touched a little bit on COVID. You certainly mentioned sort of what you guys have done to change the operations. But has it changed the industry you're working in? Do you think it's affecting the long-term way that you're going to have to handle your customer, or anything like, are customers now purchasing more online, and you have to adjust to that? What can you tell us about the sort of the industry post-COVID?
Yeah. So I think, you know, what we're generally seeing across dealerships is there are dealerships that went through first wave of COVID, and they came out of it quickly, and they came out and they said, you know what, we're going to deploy some of these new technologies. We're going to do a better job of being more transparent with our customers, allowing our customers to do more online, to transact and do business with us. And we view, if we put these tools in place, we view that as a competitive advantage. And yes, you know, a new wave of COVID might come, but be damned, we're moving ahead, and we view this as a time to get aggressive. So for that group, we were moving really quickly to try and be ready for them, right? Because they also were big believers in our integrated model, and they didn't want to have to go outside to buy third-party products. They wanted us to be able to deliver those products that could allow them to buy a car, allow their customers to buy a car online, send videos and pictures. So right out of the gate, you know, there was a whole sort of change in attitude around operating and deploying new technologies. And not that these technologies weren't there before, but they were really slowly being adopted until COVID hit. And then everybody jumped, well, not everybody, but these select sort of more aggressive dealers jump forward. Now what we're seeing the rest of the dealerships jump online as well, and get up to speed with really bringing these tools in place and putting them into their stores. But we're still hitting bumps, right, with these dealerships. Like, it's a new way of operating, and so they've got to change internally their internal processes and attitudes about how they operate. And so some of them are struggling a bit with that, and we're working through them to make those changes. You know, it's really nice that you can let a consumer buy a car, or let one of your customers buy a car online, but if you don't advertise that feature to your customers and don't get it out and get it in front of them and train your whole sales staff to constantly put that in front of customers, then it doesn't get adopted and doesn't get utilized. As an example of you know, some of the challenges of getting the technology utilized out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, I think we're finding out with a lot of companies that sort of trends are being accelerated because of COVID, and it sounds like the same thing's applying
Yep.
To your industry. And you mentioned earlier that there's like 700 different product providers or service providers, but and you guys handle a fair number of different sort of products or services for a customer. Give me a sense of the competitive landscape. How many others are kind of doing what you're doing in a more sort of one-stop shop type of approach?
Well, our number one and number two competitors are a company called CDK and another company called Reynolds. In both of those situations, they're direct competitors to our dealership management system, that accelerator system. Mm-hmm. In both of those cases, those companies, the core of their software is Unix-based or character-based, still, if you can believe it, green screen technology. However, they become the de facto sort of way of running your business. So both of those organizations do have a product suite. They have went out and built or acquired other elements around their core dealership management system. What we find, though, is the dealerships struggle with adopting some of those other pieces because they've never done a good job of integrating them into their core dealership management system. And quite frankly, they probably have a real struggle with changing that core dealership management system based on the fact that it's built on legacy old technology. So those are our two biggest competitors in the marketplace, but we're used to going up against them. They've been in the market for years and years and years, and they keep rounding out their product suite as well, but they struggle with adoption of their suite.
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe this lends to the next question. What's your sort of sales cycle look like, or your sales process look like? And are you sort of selling into somebody that doesn't really have a sort of a decent system? Or are you trying to disrupt and displace somebody that has one of your competing products?
When it comes to the dealership management system and CDK and Reynolds, we're typically displacing. It's pretty rare that we sell to greenfield where somebody doesn't have a solution in place. And when you talk about sales cycles on the accelerator side, the sales cycles are quite long, right? As you would expect with any ERP system. So most ERP systems, you have to get full management buy-in and you have to have a good plan in place for going through the change and managing through the change. And that's the number one pushback that we get is the fear of the change and all the change that the entire dealership staff are going to have to go through. And so we've spent a lot of time on install processes and trying to smooth that change out as much as we possibly can. Hence our sales cycles tend to be sort of 6 to 9 month sales cycles on the DMS. Now, we also sell other pieces of our solution to dealerships. We're happy for a dealership to buy DealerMine Service CRM and install that in their stores, or Autovance's desking product, install that in their stores. And those sales cycles are a lot more compressed because typically those solutions are going into a particular department within the dealership and there's just not as much change. Sometimes they're displacing a product that's there. Sometimes they're brand new products to that dealership. What for us then, you can see that, we've sort of got the steady growth of Accelerator and its long sales cycles with its really low churn up against the faster sales of DealerMine and Autovance, where we can install those much quicker. We have a lot more install capacity related to them, but they are lower MARPU sales for us, and there isn't as much ability to stack more products on top of them. There's the ability, but it's just harder to do. So the ideal sale for us is Accelerator, the toughest sale, because low churn, get it in, we can stack lots of products on top of it, really look after that customer and drive lots of value. We're happy to install DealerMine or Autovance or whichever product that the dealership will take as sort of a beachhead strategy, get into the store and then start talking about our value equation about the other products in our suite. It is worth noting that Auto Canada is a customer of Dealer Minds. So AutoCanada being the largest dealer group in the Canadian marketplace with approximately 50 stores, have all 50 of their dealerships on the Dealer Mind service CRM product, and use the Dealer Mind BDC services for all 50 or so of their dealerships as well.
Excellent. Why don't we take this opportunity to start opening up the questions to our listeners. I'll start with this one. Is your business model sustainable if industry shift accelerates towards online sales? You sort of touched on it a little bit. It goes on to say like Tesla type buyer, and then comment on revenue per dealer impact through this potential shift.
Yeah, so because we have an online sales tool in my deal, right? We believe we're well positioned. And now I got to be a little bit careful with my deal. You know, we put a lot of pieces together with my deal, got it launched into our stores. We do have a longer term product roadmap for it, and we're going to continue to enhance and improve upon it. But we believe we're well positioned for online sales with that particular product. What's nice about how we've built that product out is not only can you as a consumer start a deal online to buy a car, but then if you come into the dealership and have some questions or need to complete a step in dealership or even talking through to dealership staff, well, the MyDeal product integrates to the rest of our product suite. And so the in-house sales process in the dealership mirrors the MyDeal process for the consumer. And we don't see that out of our competing products in the marketplace for our competing products to MyDeal. So that's we believe is a pretty big advantage. So yeah, I think we're positioned quite well for online sales. Also, don't lose sight of the fact that the service and parts business to a dealership continues to be the highest margin part of their business. And through everything that dealerships go through, it is sort of the anchor to their business. And we do a lot of work with our dealerships to really help them grow that particular piece of the business as well.
Fantastic. Okay, next question. Which of the growth opportunities you mentioned, so Canada, US, integrating and sort of upselling or getting more wallet share, are you the most excited about and see as having the biggest impact short term?
Short term biggest impact is cross-selling. It's always the easiest sell when you've already got a relationship with a customer. As long as you're looking after that customer and have high customer sat, it's the easiest place to bring in a sale. And I believe that with our strategy of layering products on, having them beautifully integrated, having enterprise reporting on top of the whole suite, that we can show enormous ROI as we add products on. So that's sort of the shorter term piece. But longer term for us, the U.S. market. I mean, it's a massive market. You get a 25 to 30% bump on everything you sell due to exchange rates. It's the long-term market for us.
Perfect. Okay, so here's a question from somebody who obviously knows the business fairly well. You announced Neil McDonald being appointed chairman yesterday.
Yep.
How does this impact the business or strategy going forward, and what does he bring as far as anything new or different to the position?
Yeah, so I'm just going to clear up what we announced for certainty. So Scott Eisenfelder, who was our former chair, has deep knowledge of the automotive space. Worked for a number of different very large companies, including one of our competitors, in senior roles, including in some large dealer groups. Really not only understood the automotive space, but also understood the selling of technology through to the automotive space, because he led large teams that sold products through to automotive. But that was his focus, was in the automotive space. He's since gotten another fantastic role and it just didn't have time to be the chair for us, but is staying on the board with us, which we're delighted about. Neil has agreed to step up and be the chair. What Neil brings to the equation is he's got really diverse experience with many different technology companies. So he has seen lots of great technology companies out there. I know a number of our investors, some of our largest investors out there, did really well with Neil through QHR, which he was the chairman of a number of years back. He also has a lot of acquisition experience and partnering experience that he brings to the table. And yeah, we're going to draw on all that knowledge to make Quorum better.
Perfect. Okay, let's next question. Now I can see, I should have asked this question, but because it's a longer sales cycle or even an installation cycle, do you guys measure any kind of backlog? Do you report any kind of backlog or booked orders?
Yeah, so we don't currently report backlogs or booked orders. We are looking at that to see if we should start reporting that in the future, and we may start to report that. We're just considering that.
Mm-hmm. But I imagine there, I mean, there obviously you guys have sales that, you know, won't be recognized as revenue for you know, quarters and maybe, you know, maybe months down the road.
Yeah. I mean, most notably, any backlog we have is going to be around our accelerator product.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it is the one that requires the most effort, and we do have capacity limitations, and so we all have a backlog there. We don't tend to have very large backlogs on the dealer mine and Autovance side because our capacity is so significant. But we're even, you know, on dealer mine, for instance, we're normally booked a good month and a half, 2 months out or so.
Okay. I mean, any sense or any reason to try to accelerate any of the installation capacity? Or are you guys happy with where it is right now?
Yeah, I know. We're always looking to try and increase install capacity. So one of the things that we've embarked on recently is a one Quorum strategy within the organization. So part of that strategy was to remove the divisional walls that we had from doing 3 acquisitions over 4 years and move to a more functional model in our organization. Well, as soon as you're moving to a more functional model, right, you've got one sales team, one operations team, one corporate team, so on and so forth. One of the mandates out of our operations team, which falls under Mike Herrenberg, who I mentioned is recently joined us, is to try and improve our scalability of our company. And now that he can draw on install and training resources across all of our different divisions, all as one team, as one group, over time, he'll be able to expand upon our capacity.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Can you talk at all to your pricing compared to your competition? Are you guys cheaper? Are you more expensive? How do you fare price-wise to your competitors?
Yeah. So when it comes, I'm going to compare against CDK and Reynolds because their software, their dealership management software is in about 70% of the dealerships in both Canada and US. So typically we're about half price or so, give or take, compared to them. And then normally what we find is once our accelerator software is in, as you're layering other solutions on top of that, right? The Autovances, the desking, the power lanes, the different pieces that I talked about, some of our 11 different solutions, we're generally about half price to what a competing product would be, a competing third-party product would be if you had CDK or Reynolds and you went out to market to go buy those products.
Mm. Gotcha. So I'm getting the sense and really sort of the barrier to getting some of these customers faster is really sort of the disruption that that they sort of incur in changing all their systems over. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that is typically our number one barrier. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, CDK and Reynolds, I've made this comment sort of flippantly, but it's very true that the thing that they put out into the marketplace about us is FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So they do everything they can to spread FUD about us and fear of change included in that. And so that's probably one of our biggest challenges. And so we need to just keep educating dealerships about our solution and about how it can drive in ROI and how it's beautifully integrated and all the advantages to it.
Mm-hmm. How sticky are your customers? What sort of turnover or retention rate do you guys have? So
accelerator churn has traditionally been around 3%, right? Give or take, 1% or 0.5% here or there. And normally we're under 3%.
Okay, gotcha.
we're quite pleased with that churn.
Yeah, that's not too bad. So M&A, I was going to ask, sort of say this for last, but somebody's asked it here. Give us a sense of what your opportunity pipeline looks like if you guys are actively looking for acquisitions, and then is the strategy to go towards buying relationships with existing providers, or are you trying to add technology? Where would you lean towards?
So yeah, a little bit of both. So let me answer your question in sort of the questions in the order you asked them. So we have a number of partner discussions ongoing. I'm not going to disclose the exact number, but it is it's sort of north of 10 different partner conversations going on out there, especially related to our sales and service visions of where we're going, and trying to fit those pieces in. Within those partner conversations, some of those have already morphed into possible acquisition conversations. But we're always quite careful about that, right? We're going after the partnership relationship first, but if there's an acquisition opportunity, we definitely want to talk to the company about that, and really try and make sure we always present that as an option for them. And so we have pipeline of a few different opportunities out there. Now the second part of your question was related to, are we buying the software, or are we buying the relationship side of things? I think it's both, right? We're always looking to see, does their technology fit in to our product vision and where we're going with things? But we are also very conscious of the fact that if they have a number of customers in the market already, well, that's an opportunity for us to take our product suite and sell through to those customers. So we're always quite aware of both opportunities.
Mm-hmm. So you're a tech company, you're growing. Where's sort of the holes? What sort of resources you need to shore up? Is it talent? Is it geographical, manpower? I don't want to say what's your weakest link, or what do you want to shore up as much as possible?
Yeah, so right now, biggest issue for us is talent, and realistically, management talent. Within that, like we have a number of positions that we're recruiting for, and so we're not only trying to, in a lot of those positions, bring in some more seasoned management experience into a few different roles where we really need that person, but we're also, with a lot of those positions, trying to bring in people that might not necessarily be in a management role, but are really solid thinkers, and people that we can give projects to and get them executed. We're a busy company, and so we have so many things on the go, and we tend to find that there's a lot of projects that if we could get them over the finish line, they would be very beneficial, but they tend to sit on the corner of someone's desk, as opposed to being the main project that person's got to get done. And so what we're trying to do is accumulate those, bring in some more talent that can get those kind of things over the finish line, and really make a difference in the company, whether it be on revenue growth or whether it be on margins, like BDC margins.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay, so here's a question in relation to your pricing. I mean, you're 50% on average cheaper than your competitors. You got the advantage of Canadian dollar pricing, but do you see an opportunity to increase prices in the future as you get more entrenched?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll very carefully monitor that, especially on products that are some of our hotter products, like the My Deals and the PowerLane products. I mean, we, like I mentioned, through COVID, we rushed forward on these projects, and we got something to market, and I think we got some really nice product to market. But as we round out some more features, we will have opportunities to increase pricing.
And the last question we got from the listeners here, do you ever feel that you've got so many products, you run the risk of being good at a number of things, but not great at anything?
Yeah,
You know?
that's a very insightful question. Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It is without a doubt a concern for us. You know, you're not. We've taken the model of we're not necessarily the best in class product when it comes to, say, sales CRM, but we have a really solid offering that's part of an integrated suite with enterprise reporting sitting on top of it. And so sometimes there's gives and takes that dealerships have to consider when they're going on some of our different products. Now, we've sort of gone carefully through from a product planning perspective and really honestly rated our products up against our competitors' product offerings out there in the marketplace. And we have, you know, a number of products where we are not only beautifully integrated, but also best of class. Like if you look at our some of our core offerings, like Accelerator, Autovens Desk, Dealer Minds, Service CRM, you know, there's a number of our products where we think we've got sort of the best of all worlds for in terms of our offerings. But there's other products that we brought into our product suite that we do need to. There are some things we need to do to shore them up. They're great offerings, and they're especially great offerings when you consider them as part of the integrated suite. But there are some more features that we could add to them and round them out with.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, listen, we come to the point where we like to give you, you know, presenters an opportunity to sort of leave the audience with any sort of key message or takeaway, maybe even what they should look forward to in sort of the next 6 months. So I'll give you a free time to sort of give that key message you'd like to have everyone listen to.
Yeah. So I think, you know, with all of our different growth opportunities in front of us, I think we've got lots of runway for growth. I think we've got lots of exciting opportunities. I mentioned before, we've gotten back to that sort of 10% organic growth as an organization, but we're not happy with that. We're happy that we got back to that particular number, but that isn't, we are pushing really hard to try and grow organically quicker than we have traditionally. And we're doing a lot of things in the company to keep moving the growth needle. Ideally, we would like to get to that 20% growth mark. So 5% quarter over quarter or 20% annual growth. And we're pushing really hard in the organization to move the needle on organic growth over this next year.
Fantastic. Maury, where can listeners go to get more information? What's your website address?
Yeah, so quoruminfotech.com is our website address.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so we've had Maury Marks, CEO of Quorum Information Technologies, join us today. Maury, I want to thank you a bunch here for joining us and giving us the straight goods on the company.
All right. Well, Paul, thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it.